A lone hero unleashes a powerful punch, surrounded by dark energy. He yells out that the castle is finished, as a massive horde of demons swarms below. The force of his attack creates a huge explosion, wiping out a large number of them in an instant. With a furious roar, the hero continues his assault. He becomes a whirlwind of motion, cutting through the demonic ranks with incredible speed and power, leaving a trail of defeated enemies in his wake. His body glows with immense power as he shatters an enemy's defense with a single, devastating blow. The impact is so strong it sends shockwaves through the air. Onlookers shout in awe, "It's the hero! The hero has come!" as he continues to single-handedly turn the tide of the battle, a beacon of hope against the overwhelming darkness. The crowd continues to chant hero as he fearlessly clashes with a monstrous dragon. With a determined look, he presses on, unfazed by the powerful beast before him. The scene shifts to a modern city. A dog's barking echoes through the quiet streets as a plane flies overhead, transitioning from the chaotic dream to a peaceful reality. A small, cheerful dog approaches a young man who is lying down, clutching a newspaper with a work recruiting section. The man, Satu Susuk, an 18-year-old who is unemployed, sits up on a park bench. He sighs, realizing he was having a dream about that time again. He decides to recall what happened 5 years ago. He reminisces about August of his first year in junior high. It was the day he was suddenly flung into a different world, precisely on the day of his neighborhood friend's birthday party. This friend was a childhood friend, Katsumi, and he describes her as being so charming it was no joke. He remembers being flustered as she greeted him, calling him So-kun. He thought it was the perfect chance to convey his feelings. He had gifted her a pretty necklace, reassuring her it wasn't expensive. He comically recalls having to massage his grandfather's steel-like shoulders and his grandma's twice as much to earn the money. He remembers how his own family laughed, and his grandma wished for days like this to continue forever. Hearing his story, Katsumi lets out a small, amused giggle. Katsumi looks at him with a warm, sparkling smile. She thanks him, saying that So-kun is, as always, so devoted to his family. Emboldened by her praise, he decides to confess. He recalls the moment he nervously blurted out, "I like you," a memory that still makes him want to hit himself. His confession is met with tears. Katsumi apologizes profusely, her voice trembling as she says she can't reply to his feelings. A close-up shows Susuk's face, utterly stunned and heartbroken by the rejection. Thinking back on it now, Susuk reflects that his confession was nothing more than an impulsive attempt. He remembers how his childhood friend had an attractive face and figure, and was accomplished in school and sports. On the other hand, he felt he had nothing, screaming in frustration as his friend called out to him. Or rather, to put it simply, he was just a poor student. He waves his arms around in a frustrated tantrum. He was in a complete rage that day. While crying crazily, he ran out into the streets, even busting out a breakdance move in the middle of a railway crossing as Katsumi chased after him, begging him to wait. Before he knew it, his wild escape had led him to the ocean, where he stripped completely naked and went for a swim. And in that moment of despair, somehow, he became lost and was transported to another world, appearing butt naked in front of a mysterious, regal woman and her cloaked attendants. The woman looks down at the naked Susuk and says she's been waiting for him. He's stunned as she asks him to become a hero and save this world, all while he is completely exposed. Panicked and still naked, Susuk tries to flee, shouting, "Where am I? Where are you guys?" The attendants chase after him, revealing the world's name is the Griefia, and pleading for the hero to wait. They continue to plead with him to defeat the Demon King, but he flat out refuses, yelling, "What crap is that? Why me?" They desperately explain that his summon is the key to their world's salvation, and that he is the chosen one. Despite being offered a grand destiny, Susuk is still reeling from his recent heartbreak. He remembers Katsumi's words, "I can't accept your feelings," which caused him to feel instantly heartbroken. Eventually, with a somber expression, he accepted the hard facts of his new reality. The people of Degreefia erupted in cheers, celebrating that their hero has finally been born. People say that with time, all wounds are healed. But at that time, Susuk was drowning in despair. The citizens murmured amongst themselves, questioning if this boy, whose face looked aged with sorrow, could really help them. After that, things progressed much like any hero's story. It was proclaimed that he would help Degreefia win the war against the Demon King. His days of adventure began, filled with friendship, triumph, and a lot of hard work. The story begins with our hero, Sadhu Susuk, reminiscing about his past. He recalls that even when he and his companions were at a disadvantage, they would always overcome the challenges and continue on their journey together. He gained a decent amount of battle experience, confidently dispatching monsters with powerful punches and swift kicks. Monsters of all kinds would roar and taunt him, calling him an idiot hero or an aged face hero. But regardless of their insults, he destroyed anything and everything that came at him with overwhelming force. At times, he would even go up against dragons. And as expected, the mighty beast would be struck down by his hand, earning him cheers from his allies who praised how cool hero Susuk was. His companions would urge him on, telling him to leave the minions to them and focus on the main threat. In the end, through all of their sacrifices and hard work, he would unleash his full power with a mighty roar. The Demon King was finally destroyed. Starting from a mostly dispirited kid who was only a hero in name, Susuk had finally made a name for himself as a true hero. He restored peace to Degreefia and became their savior. From then on, his popularity swelled to unusual heights as the people cheered and thanked him. He was worshipped and praised, not joking. His legend grew so much that he appeared in history textbooks and even as the main character in picture books. He was celebrated everywhere he went, with the people of Degreefia relying on him completely. Full of confidence, he declared that he didn't anticipate losing, no matter the opponent, and that their fight would continue. Though, it should have been like that. Suddenly, his eyes snap open in shock. He finds himself standing shirtless in a familiar-looking park, back in his own world. He stumbles, completely bewildered. He thinks, having no idea what just happened to him. He looks around, confused, asking himself where he is and what he was doing. His mind is a jumble, thinking he got carried away drinking and was about to hop into a bath. He recognizes a sandbox from his childhood and faintly remembers making mud balls there. A cold, dawning realization begins to set in. As the truth becomes clear, he yells out in despair. Why am I here? Am I back? He realizes he was forced to return from the other world. The harsh realization hits him. He was suddenly brought back from the world of Degreefia to his home on Earth. He panics, shouting, "Why did I come back now? What became of Degreefia?" Just then, a police officer taps him on the shoulder, interrupting his panic with a stern question. "What's your occupation?" To add to his misery, he realized he was naked this time as well. The officer dryly remarks that this level of bravery is something else, before asking again if he's a hero. When asked where he works, Susuk can only stammer that he's always adventuring. He realizes that though he was a hero who brought peace to another world, in his current reality, he's just a suspicious, jobless person. He can't help but think about how diligently he worked to defeat the Demon King. The scene fades to an overview of his ridiculous situation. A hero who was summoned to another world and defeated the Demon King has, before he knew it, returned to his original world and is now being questioned by the police. At the police station, while eating a bun, he tries to explain his situation. The officers think he's speaking nonsense, leading him to shout in frustration, "I am not jobless. I am the hero who saved Degreefia." He insists to the skeptical officers that things like Demon Kings really do exist and that he can feel a demonic presence in the city. He desperately offers to defeat it if they call his guardians, but they dismiss it as a waste of time. One of the officers suddenly recalls a missing report for a Sadhu Susuk from years ago. They conclude his memory is confused and urge him to put on some clothes, while Susuk insists he's being serious. Just then, his family and friends burst in, crying his name in relief. His grandparents are overcome with emotion, overjoyed to see their long-lost grandson alive. His family assures the officers that Susuk is healthy and okay. His grandma smothers him in a tight hug, telling him they were worried sick. He tries to protest that he really did return from another world, but she cuts him off, telling him not to joke about messing around. As his family drags him home, they scold him for his daydreaming nonsense. And so, the curtain on the hero's epic story was closed abruptly. Susuk looks out at his old neighborhood, resigning himself to just live this way. Back at home, his grandparents watch him go, worrying if he'll be okay, but concluding that he's a sturdy lad who will be fine. Susuk reflects that a world with no demon king to defeat should be an easy place to live in by comparison. He considers this his second chance at life and resolves to seize this new opportunity. But the narration ominously states that if the story ended here, it would be a simple one. However, there's one fact that cannot be overlooked. While attempting to write a resume for the first time, he realizes that since he was summoned at 13 and was devoted to being a hero, he never actually graduated from middle school. The terrible truth hits him like a ton of bricks. He didn't even graduate past elementary school. His final academic background is abysmal. The scene changes to a job interview. Dressed in a formal suit, Sato Susuk sits nervously before a panel of interviewers, formally introducing himself. When asked about his skills, he earnestly explains his reinforcement technique, a magic that strengthens his physical ability. He proudly declares he is sturdier than a dragon and won't miss work, exuding a powerful aura that startles the interviewers. He continues his passionate sales pitch, stating that since he's traveled the world and overcome all difficulties to defeat the Demon King, they can leave all the outside work to him. The interviewers try in vain to interrupt his enthusiastic speech. The interviewer bluntly tells him that before talking about such skills, it would be better for him to at least graduate from middle school. They ask if he has any more realistic special skills, leaving Susuk flustered as he realizes he has no other skills besides fighting. The result, of course, is rejection. He lies defeated on a bench, remembering his last-ditch effort to list a skill. I can make mud balls. He angrily crumples the rejection letter, damning the company for not believing in his magic, despite him listing his evidence and quests. His grandfather tells him to keep it down as Susuk rants that he even explained how incredibly perfect his mud balls are, but his lack of education remains the major issue. This is Sada Susuk. After saving another world and defeating the Demon King, he returned to Earth, only to face his greatest challenge yet, job hunting. With only an elementary school graduation on his record, he's met with overwhelming failure and a barrage of rejection letters. Sitting alone in a park as evening falls, the former hero looks on with a grimly determined expression. The frustration of his reality is written all over his face. He reflects on a swing set, thinking to himself that job hunting is even more difficult than defeating the Demon King was. Despite the despair, he finds a small glimmer of hope, a part-time job at a local supermarket. It's a small step, but a step forward nonetheless. As he swings, his worries consume him. All his old friends are advancing in life, going to elite schools or getting real jobs, while he feels completely stuck in place. The pressure to catch up is immense. Determined, he decides to head home and work on his resume. He just wants to be someone who doesn't cause his family and friends to worry, especially after he made them cry when he returned from the other world, Degreefia. But just as he's lost in thought, a desperate cry for help cuts through the air. Nearby, a group of sleazy-looking delinquents on motorcycles are harassing a young woman, trying to pressure her into going with them. Susuk spots the commotion. As if his day wasn't bad enough, now he has to witness this. The girl's voice trembles as she pleads for them to stay away. Already feeling down, Susuk can't just stand by. He walks over and tells the delinquents to stop acting tough, reminding them that this isn't the old days and he'll call the cops. The lead delinquent, angered by the interruption, mocks Susuk's worn-out appearance and calls him an old geezer. Susuk, touching a nerve, yells back that he just naturally looks older than his age. Susuk fumes, revealing that his mature face has always been a source of insecurity. Meanwhile, the delinquent ignores him and grabs the girl's wrist. Susuk immediately shouts at him to stop. As he gets a closer look at the girl's face, a flicker of recognition crosses Susuk's eyes. He's seen her before. The girl recognizes him too, exclaiming, "Ah, Sokuen!" It's his childhood friend, Shikigami Katsumi. A flashback begins. Katsumi recalls their childhood, explaining that they were close when they were little. For her, Susuk was her first love, the one who stole her heart. The memory continues to a painful moment. Just before Susuk was summoned to the Griffia, he confessed his feelings to Katsumi, only to be met with a crushing rejection. She tearfully told him she couldn't return his feelings. Back in the present, the delinquents are undeterred, telling Susuk they'll make sure the girl can handle all of them. Katsumi looks on, her face filled with fear. The lead delinquent taunts Susuk, calling him a wrinkled-faced punk and telling him to scram. But Susuk's expression has changed. With a cold, determined glare, he thinks to himself, "Just wait, Katsumi." The hero's instincts take over. With fire in his eyes and a clenched fist, Susuk declares that he's going to rescue her right now. Katsumi looks on in shock. Without hesitation, Susuk rushes forward and lands a powerful blow, catching the delinquent completely off guard. The delinquent reels back, enraged and ready for a fight. But Susuk is more than prepared, his face set with the grim determination of a seasoned warrior. He's ready for this showdown. The air crackles with tension as Susuk prepares to unleash the strength he honed as a hero in another world. Katsumi, seeing the old Sokuen she knew, can't help but cheer him on as he fights to protect her. But for a split second, Susuk hesitates, a look of intense internal conflict on his face. He reminds himself that this isn't a Griffia, a world where he could throw a punch and call it a day. He knows that if he goes wild here, he'll just make everyone around him worry all over again. Pushing past his internal conflict, Susuk lands a clean, decisive blow right on the delinquent's jaw. Katsumi shouts his name, a mix of awe and concern in her voice. The thug is knocked out cold, collapsing in a pathetic heap. His friends, realizing they're outmatched, quickly flee the scene. Despite his victory, Susuk looks down on his handiwork, a wave of self-deprecation washing over him as he can't reconcile the celebrated hero he once was with this messy reality. Katsumi rushes to Susuk's side, worried about him. As she tends to a scrape on his face, she apologizes profusely, blaming herself for him getting hurt. She pleads with him not to call himself pathetic. In the quiet aftermath, Susuk reflects that it's been a staggering 4.5 years since he last saw Katsumi's face. He quietly voices his hurt, remembering how she never came to see him after he returned from the other world and was taken in by the police. Trying to ease the tension, Katsumi reminisces about how they used to play in this very park as kids. But the moment remains awkward for Susuk, who can't help but wonder if it's because he's the boy whose confession she turned down. She gets lost in the memories of their childhood, recalling how Susuk would always take her on adventures, and how she felt she was always causing him pain and trouble, even back then. The guilt becomes too much for Katsumi, and she breaks down in tears, apologizing over and over. She confesses that she has carried this regret for so long. Susuk is completely taken aback by her sudden, intense emotional breakdown. Through her tears, she reveals the source of her guilt. She believes that if only she hadn't rejected him back then, he wouldn't have disappeared from her life. She has blamed herself for his absence all these years. Susuk is stunned into silence. He realizes that Katsumi has been waiting for him to return all this time, thinking his disappearance was her fault. He knows he has to clear up this painful misunderstanding immediately. He grabs her shoulders, trying to make her understand. "That's not it, you fool," he exclaims, insisting she's done nothing wrong. But he struggles, wondering how on earth he can explain the truth about being transported to another world when no one has ever believed him. Determined to try, he steels himself. He asks Katsumi if she will listen to him, even though he can't guarantee she'll believe his story. He has to clear up her misunderstanding, no matter what. But just as he's about to reveal his incredible secret, A suave-looking young man with long hair appears, calling out to Katsumi. "So, this is where you've been hiding," he says. The handsome stranger introduces himself as Ryo Shido, a classmate of Katsumi's. Susuke, flustered by the interruption and the guy's dazzling appearance, can only manage a mumbled introduction in return. Shido correctly guesses Susuke's identity, mentioning that he's heard about Katsumi's childhood friend. Susuke is surprised, wondering how this guy knows who he is. Shido then makes a comment about how Susuke carries himself with an authority that makes it hard to believe they're the same age. Katsumi chides him for being rude, while Susuke can only blush, envious of Shido's suave face and confidence. With a quick apology, Shido takes Katsumi by the arm, saying they're going to be late. He whisks her away, leaving Susuke standing alone. As she's led away, Katsumi looks back and shouts to Susuke, making a promise that they'll meet again soon to have a proper chat. Susuke watches them leave, noting the sweet closeness between them. He clasps his hands in resignation, thinking, next time for sure. His heart sinks as he sits on a bench, utterly defeated. He concludes that the handsome Ryo Shido must be Katsumi's boyfriend, and he mourns the loss of his first love all over again. "Farewell, my heart," he laments. Lying on the bench, drained, Susuke tries to reason with himself. Katsumi has turned into a stunning beauty, so of course other guys wouldn't leave her alone. Still, reality is a tough pill to swallow. He resolves to keep grinding to survive, remembering he has a part-time job to get to. The scene shifts to Come Market, where Susuke is on the clock. He's determined to fit into society and give customer service his all, but is immediately thrown for a loop when a customer asks him where the eggs are. The customer mercilessly berates him for not knowing the store's layout, mocking his education and calling him a chicken brain. Having been a hero who saved a world, this mundane humiliation is a new kind of pain for Susuke. Just in the nick of time, a kind coworker with a bright smile steps in to help the rude customer. Susuke recognizes her as his senior, Sasamine-san. Later, the store's tough-looking manager reassures a dejected Susuke, telling him he'll get the hang of things. Susuke is moved by the unexpected kindness, feeling like he's truly found the best part-time job. After a hard day's work, Sasamine offers to walk home with Susuke. He thanks her for having his back earlier, feeling like he's the one who is always being supported. This is Sasamine Miko, Susuke's senior at work. He reflects that if life had taken a more conventional route, she'd be his classmate. As she discusses her own future, he thinks about how caring she is, while also being slightly distracted by her other, enormous qualities. After sharing her own wholesome dream of becoming a nursery teacher, Sasamine turns and innocently asks Susuke what he wants to be when he grows up. For a former hero who's just trying to survive, swamped with part-time work and job hunting, the question of a future dream is a difficult one to even comprehend, leaving him feeling utterly lost. He can't help but feel like life has just been throwing curveballs at him nonstop. A broken heart, 50 straight failures in job hunting, and now a second broken heart. He wonders if there's even anything he can do at this point. Sasamine suddenly gets very excited and grabs his arm, exclaiming that he's secretly super buff. She marvels at his arm veins, much to his embarrassment. She passionately declares that people who put in effort will definitely achieve what they can, which strikes a chord with him. Susuke is so touched by her pure-hearted encouragement that he wonders if she's a goddess. He feels a renewed sense of determination to try harder. As they continue walking, Sasamine mentions it's reassuring to walk home with him, then brings up a spooky rumor floating around town. He assumes she's talking about perverts, but she clarifies with a spooked expression that she means something much scarier: ghosts. She theatrically describes the rumor of a dark shadow creeping out of the gloom. Susuke thinks she's just being silly, but she was just having fun trying to scare him. Susuke, a man who has fought legions of actual monsters, is completely unfazed by the idea of a ghost. He dismisses her story, which annoys Sasamine. But in that instant, his hero senses flare up as he detects something truly dangerous nearby. He freezes, his body tensing up as a powerful and familiar presence washes over the area. As they stand on the dark street, Sasamine confesses how terrified she is of the walk home. Susuk, however, is barely listening, his focus entirely on the unsettling aura he's sensing. Sensing her genuine fear, Susuk snaps back to reality and offers to walk her home whenever he can. She is touched by his kindness and accepts his offer. To make it easier to coordinate, Sasamine asks for his contact info. They exchange numbers, and she giggles when she sees he still has an old flip phone, teasing that his knowledge is a bit stuck in the past. After Sasamine waves goodbye and heads home, Susuk's attention is once again drawn to the mysterious presence. He can tell it's not a wishy-washy existence like a ghost. This aura is powerful and distinct. His eyes narrow as the truth hits him. This is the unmistakable aura of a creature steeped in magical energy. It's not a ghost. It's a monster. He's shocked. He'd had a lingering hunch that monsters might be lurking in this city ever since he returned from the other world, but now he has confirmation. Why are they here? He pinpoints the source of the energy. It's incredibly close. Without a second thought, he breaks into a full sprint, pushing off with enough force to crack the pavement beneath his feet. With the face of a hero answering the call to battle, Susuk races towards the danger, his mind screaming one question: what on earth is happening in this world? In the city at night, sad as Susuk senses something is wrong. A strange magical aura permeates the air, and he realizes with concern that there are two distinct sources of this power. Susuk knows that magic power exists naturally in all of Earth's creatures, as common as the air itself. However, the sheer concentration of the two auras he's feeling now is far beyond anything normal. He is shocked. This is the first time he's felt an aura this intense since he came back from the other world. His senses are immediately put on high alert. Suddenly, a young man with white hair, Takatsuki Kuji, flashes past him. Susuk is startled as Kuji lands on a street sign, locked in combat. Kuji looks determined, but a trickle of blood from his eye shows that he is already injured from the fight. Kuji is stunned to see a civilian inside the battle barrier he created. Impossible, he thinks. He yells at Susuk to get out immediately, but Susuk, pretending to be a normal citizen, expresses concern for Kuji's injuries. As they argue, the monster makes its move. With a guttural growl, it smashes a nearby car, reminding them of the immediate danger. The monster reveals its full form, a massive, fearsome white tiger demon, prowling the street below where Kuji stands. The tiger demon taunts Kuji, asking if he thinks he can escape. Susuk, keeping up his act, stares in terror and shouts, "A monster!" Kuji stumbles and falls to the ground. The tiger demon looms over them, seeing two prey instead of one, and growls that it will devour them both. Despite his injuries, Kuji gets back on his feet, determined. He declares that he won't let the monster harm the civilian and begins to gather his magic. Susuk watches with feigned shock as a powerful swirl of energy gathers around the young magician, exclaiming, "You! That is!" Kuji screams as he unleashes a torrent of magic, blasting the tiger demon with all his might. Amidst the chaotic battle, Susuk continues to act like a bewildered onlooker. A monster and a magician. There's no doubt that's what this is, he yells. Susuk thinks to himself that no one ever said monsters and magicians existed on Earth too. He thought they were only in the other world. Meanwhile, Kuji realizes with dread that the tiger demon is too fast for his attacks. The tiger demon lands a vicious blow on Kuji. Seeing this, Susuk grits his teeth, realizing he has many questions, but they will have to wait. The monster gloats at how fragile humans are. Susuk decides he's seen enough. He shoves the astonished Kuji aside, sternly telling him to stay back. The tiger demon turns its attention to Susuk, recognizing him. "You're the one, aren't you? The ghost everyone in town's been talking about." Susuk retorts that it doesn't matter. This has nothing to do with him. Susuk's expression darkens. He recalls how his friend seemed to fear his power, but he has no intention of letting an uninvited pest go. With killing intent in his eyes, he tells the monster, "So die." "You sure talk big for a monkey," the tiger roars as it lunges forward, aiming to turn Susuk into mincemeat. A massive shockwave erupts, creating a blinding flash of light. From behind the blast, the injured Kuji is completely stunned, unable to see anything. As the smoke clears, an unbelievable sight is revealed. Susuk has stopped the tiger demon's massive, razor-sharp claw with just one hand, completely unfazed. With a single, powerful punch, Susuk sends the gigantic tiger demon flying backward. Kuji can only gasp in utter disbelief at the incredible display of strength. The once mighty demon is hurled through the air, but Susuk isn't done yet, immediately closing the distance to continue his assault. His first punch connects solidly with the tiger's face, a brutal display of power that marks the beginning of the demon's end. Following his initial punch, Susuk lands a devastating uppercut, sending the tiger demon reeling in pain. Kuji stares in open-mouthed shock as the massive demon is thrown into the air, its body beginning to break apart from the sheer force of the attack. The defeated tiger demon begs him to wait, but Susuk simply turns and walks away, his job now finished. With one final, decisive strike, Susuk stands over the battered and broken body of the tiger demon, ending the threat for good. While Kuji is still frozen in disbelief, Susuk casually walks over to the vanquished demon's remains. Letting out a sigh of relief, Susuk delivers a final, light punch to the demon's remains, ensuring it's completely gone. He reflects to himself that it's been a while since he used an enchantment spell, but he's pleased that it went so well. Switching back to his carefree persona, Susuk rushes over to the still kneeling Kuji, asking if he's all right. Kuji, however, is completely mesmerized, wondering what kind of incredible power he just witnessed. The young magician asks, "Who are you really?" The question causes Susuk to pause and wonder to himself. The hero? No, I'm no longer the hero, am I? Dodging the question, Susuk strikes a confident pose and gives a thumbs up, declaring himself to be just a courageous young man. He then quickly tries to change the subject back to calling an ambulance for Kuji. Overwhelmed with awe, Kuji performs a dramatic, full-body bow on the ground, offering his deepest apologies to the courageous one. Looking up at Susuk with tears of admiration in his eyes, Kuji begs, "Please, make me your disciple." Susuk is left completely dumbfounded. The next morning, Susuk wakes up at home, his whole body aching. He chalks it up to muscle pain from using his body-strengthening techniques for the first time in a while. He tries to convince himself that last night's events were just a dream, though he surprised people are using magic on Earth. He had hurried home to avoid complications, but his peace is interrupted by the doorbell. Susuk opens his front door to find Kuji, who formally introduces himself with a deep bow. Susuk's heart sinks as he realizes, I guess it wasn't a dream after all. As Susuk tries to slam the door shut, Kuji quickly expresses his deepest gratitude for the help he received the night before. Kuji frantically rattles the door, pleading for Seta-san to open up. Susuk, annoyed, wonders how in the world this guy managed to find his address. From outside the closed door, Kuji shouts that he has something important to discuss and asks Susuk to please help them with their honorable mission. Kuji explains that since they aren't getting reinforcements from Alteria, they have no choice but to ask Susuk, a first-class wizard, to lend them his power. Susuk is utterly confused by all of this. Just then, a tall, professional-looking woman appears, questioning how Susuk couldn't know about the World Magic Organization Alteria. Susuk, exasperated, tells them he doesn't know or care about their situation. The woman, Tsukumura-sensei, notes that Susuk isn't an official wizard and says they should talk inside as the matter is confidential. Susuk thinks to himself that it's a good thing his grandparents aren't home. Inside, Tsukumura-kane introduces herself as a teacher and explains that Alteria is Earth's largest wizard organization. She and her student, Takatsuki Kuji, are part of an affiliated magic school. Susuk is stunned to learn that Earth has such a well-established magic system. Tsukumura elaborates that she brought 4 other students besides Kuji to this city for practical training. Tsukumura continues, trying to impress upon Susuk the gravity of their presence by asking if he's heard of Kanto High's divine swordsman, the top 5 students of their entire school, a group her team belongs to. She then reveals the core of their visit. They are on an official mission from Alteria itself. Their goal is the extermination of demons, a task that involves eliminating all demonic entities that have begun appearing in the city and stabilizing the chaotic flow of the local ley lines. Kuji explains that the demon they fought last night was far more powerful than they expected, which is why he was so easily defeated. He warns with grim determination that at this rate, it won't just be them who get hurt, but the innocent residents of the city as well. Susuk flinches as he takes a sip of his drink, the gravity of the situation sinking in. Kuji continues, explaining that the timing is terrible and they can't hope for any reinforcements from Alteria. This is why, he pleads, they desperately need Sada-san's overwhelming power. Please, can't you cooperate with us? Inside a traditional Japanese house, Sada's Susuk asks about the demons, like the tiger from the previous day. Sukimura Kane, a tall and serious woman, explains that their estimates show about 14 remaining, with one being particularly formidable. After hearing the explanation, Susuk sits with his back to them and agrees to cooperate. Takatsuki Kuji, a young man with light-colored hair, exclaims in relief, calling out to Sadu. Sukimura, however, questions Takatsuki's decision, expressing her opposition. She points out that Susuk is completely clueless about the circumstances surrounding wizards, which makes his involvement a risk. She continues to explain her reasoning, stating that Susuk hasn't even studied magic at a proper school and is merely calling himself a wizard based on vague knowledge. This means he's an unofficial wizard, and since the organization Alteria doesn't compensate them, they would be forcing him to work for free. Sukimura tells Susuk that risking his life for nothing in return is something a fool would do, and not a decision a respectable adult should even consider. Susuk retorts that this isn't about gain or loss, a statement that makes her flinch. Susuk admits that from her perspective, he would be considered an unofficial wizard and that he didn't learn magic on Earth. However, as he clenches his fist, he declares that none of that matters. With determination burning in his eyes, Susuk declares that he will fight. He can't just live his life quietly while his family and friends, pictured in his mind, are in danger because of the demons. He asserts that he shouldn't fall short compared to her. Takatsuki is moved and shocked by Susuk's passionate declaration. Sukimura, on the other hand, looks at him with a smirk, acknowledging the considerable confidence he possesses. Taking a sip from her drink, Sukimura concedes that they aren't in a position to be picky. She then formally introduces him as Sado Susuk and asks for his cooperation, which he accepts. As Sukimura leaves, she tells Susuk that she will inform him about the mission's start date later. Susuk reflects on his situation, thinking that he was convinced the power he gained as a hero in another world would be of no use here on Earth. A new resolve fills him. He can fight. He can protect others. He realizes that this might be something that only he can do right now. His determination solidifies into a powerful conviction. A close-up on his face shows his intense gaze as he thinks, "No, I will do it. I can do it." Later that evening, Takatsuki is waiting for Susuk. Susuk is on the phone, telling a family member that he'll be late and asking them to set aside some dinner for him, reassuring them that he's already spoken to his grandpa. As they walk through a park, Takatsuki informs Susuk that this is the meeting place. He comments on how thoughtful Susuk is for calling his family, but Susuk brushes it off as something normal. Takatsuki suddenly asks if Susuk has thought about his request to become his disciple. Susuk bluntly replies, "Nope, won't do it," stating he has to focus on job hunting. Takatsuki is shocked, wondering if he's not strong enough. Embarrassed, Takatsuki apologizes, explaining he thought Susuk was around 25 years old. He then has a panicked realization that at 18, they aren't that far apart in age, and worries if his own youth is the reason for the rejection. As Susuk urges them to hurry, Takatsuki runs ahead, flabbergasted that Susuk thought he was 7 years younger. From a distance, A voice complains about how slow and late they are. They arrive to find Tsukimura and a group of others waiting. Tsukimura, smoking a cigarette, chides someone for shouting and disturbing the residents. She addresses Takatsuki, who has just arrived with Susuke. Another girl from the group speaks to Tsukimura, asking if it's true they brought along a wizard who defeated a powerful demon by himself. She demands to be introduced, questioning if Tsukimura has properly vetted his abilities. Watching the exchange from a short distance, Susuke correctly assumes that this new group must be the students from the magic school that Tsukimura had mentioned. The new group is introduced dramatically. Kanto High's Divine Swordsman, the 5 top students at school. Susuke observes the 5 students, noting internally that they are all remarkably good-looking. He humorously thinks to himself that if they form an idol group, they would probably be very successful. His eyes land on a particular girl with long black hair standing near Tsukimura, and he thinks she's really cute. The girl seems to sense his gaze and turns around with a questioning look. A look of utter shock washes over Susuke's face. He stares, completely stunned, as he recognizes the girl and stutters out her name in disbelief. Kokoko Kazumi. His sudden outburst throws the group into confusion. While Tsukimura asks where that man is, Takatsuki tries to bring the stunned Susuke forward. But Susuke is frozen, his mind reeling as he stares at his childhood friend, Shikigami Kazumi, wondering what on earth she is doing here. Takatsuki asks Susuke what's wrong as he stares in shock. Susuke confirms that it's the real Kazumi, not a doppelganger. He also recognizes the sparkling prince, Shishido Ryuya, as the guy who was with Kazumi earlier. Takatsuki remembers being told that when on missions, they are to pretend it's club activities to keep magic hidden from normal people. A bead of sweat runs down Susuke's face as the shocking realization hits him. Says so. That means Kazumi is also from that magic school? Takatsuki begins to explain Kazumi's abilities. He reveals that Shikigami Kazumi is not only a talented healer, often called the Priestess of Healing, but also a powerful summoner who has already made contracts with several high-ranking divine beasts. He adds that she was the one who healed the injuries he sustained from the tiger demon. Takatsuki then explains that the prince guy is Shishido, a wizard with the unique and powerful lightning attribute, and that he is the chosen wielder of the divine blade Excalibur. Susuke trembles as he processes the information, wondering when Kazumi got such an interesting nickname. When Takatsuki asks if he knows her, Susuke reveals that Kazumi is his childhood friend. He muses that the existence of magic is being kept hidden from normal people, and just as he never suspected she was a wizard, she has no idea that he can use magic either. Susuke speculates that Kazumi either didn't tell him about her life as a wizard on purpose or because of her family situation. He recalls her home always being quiet. Takatsuki, seeing his friend's dilemma, asks what he plans to do. After some thought, Susuke decides that it's better to keep his identity a secret for now. He resolves to wait until Kazumi herself tells him about her circumstances. Susuke decides that to prevent Kazumi from realizing her childhood friend Sokoin is their backup, he needs a disguise. He asks Takatsuki if there's a spell to change his appearance, and Takatsuki realizes the inconvenience of the situation. With a flourish, Susuke presents his solution, a comical Hayatoko mask, a traditional Japanese mask. Takatsuki looks on, completely baffled by the absurd disguise. Takatsuki, recovering from a shock, reasons that the simple mask should be enough to hide his identity as long as he doesn't take it off. Getting overly excited, he declares he will call Susuke Sensei from now on to make the disguise flawless. Susuke can only think, is this guy some kind of idiot? Susuke braces himself, deciding that as long as he can ensure the city's safety, nothing else matters. He'll act like a weirdo, so Kazumi won't recognize him, change his voice, and beat the crap out of the demons. Takatsuki cheers him on enthusiastically. Their plotting is cut short when one of the new wizards, a girl with twin pigtails, yells at them for mumbling and tells them to hurry up. Takatsuki quickly rustles over, practicing a formal introduction. With a dramatic whoosh, Susuke steps forward, now wearing the mask and striking a pose with his arms crossed. Takatsuki stands beside him, looking unimpressed. The divine swordsmen react with a collective deadpan stare, their expressions ranging from annoyed to utterly bewildered by the spectacle. Sasuke can practically hear their thoughts, correctly guessing that every single one of them is thinking, a weird guy showed up. The girl with the twin pigtails, Yuto, finally snaps, shouting, "Are you joking?" Takatsuki tries to intervene, telling her not to cause a scene, but she argues that Yuto has a point. Yuta Mitsuki loses her temper, demanding to know what's with the mask and if he's here to mock them. Takatsuki's claim that he has circumstances only fuels her anger. Ryuya steps in, patting a blushing Mitsuki on the head to calm her down. Shishido Ryuya smoothly tells Mitsuki that it's not good to judge people by their appearance, and she immediately calms down and agrees. All the while, a pissed Sasuke looks on from behind his mask. The group questions the strange newcomer. One girl expresses her surprise that Tsukimura-sensei approved of this suspicious individual. Mitsuki then demands his name, reminding him that he'll need a fake one. Sasuke introduces himself with the most ridiculous name he can think of. "I'm Cabbage Taru. Nice to meet you." The girl immediately yells back, "Are you joking?" The introductions devolve into chaos. While Ryuya calls him a funny one, Mitsuki tells him to stop the weird sentence ending. Cabbage Taru then randomly announces his favorite food, prompting Mitsuki to yell that she didn't ask. Another member of the group quietly asks Sasuke why he's dressed for a summer festival. Sasuke whispers back, explaining that he's trying to keep his identity hidden from Shikigami Kazumi due to certain circumstances. The group member warns him that Kazumi is already staring at him suspiciously, her gaze like drills. Kazumi herself coolly states that as long as his antics don't interfere with the mission, she doesn't really mind. Tsukimura finally steps in to settle the matter. While admitting she finds the situation strange, she guarantees his abilities, reminding the students that this is the man who defeated the tiger demon by himself. With his cooperation now set in stone, she instructs everyone to formally introduce themselves. The introductions get underway, starting with the fiery, pig-tailed girl, who introduces herself as Yuta Mitsuki and threatens to have him thrown out if he causes trouble. The charming blonde follows up, introducing himself as Shishido Ryuya. The introductions continue. A girl with long, light-colored hair and a calm demeanor introduces herself as Tia Vermilion. Finally, Shikigami Kazumi, looking a little hesitant, says her name and that it's a pleasure to meet him. Kazumi looks intently at the masked Sasuke and asks if they haven't met somewhere before. Panicking, Sasuke quickly denies it, saying she has the wrong person. As the other members grow impatient and urge Tsukimura-sensei to start the mission briefing, Sasuke curses his bad luck. The scene opens with Tsukimura-kane, a teacher from the magic organization Alteria. Taking a drag from her cigarette, she begins to brief the assembled students on their next mission, explaining that they will be splitting into two groups. Tsukimura-kane divides the teams. She announces that she, along with Shikigami Kazumi and Shishido Ryuya, will handle the outskirts. The second team, consisting of Takatsuki Kuji, Yuto Mitsuki, Tia Vermilion, and the disguised Sasuke, will cover the mountainside. The mission objective is laid out with grim seriousness. Search for the demons, eliminate them on sight, and report back immediately if anything unexpected happens. The final, stark instruction hangs in the air. Above all, make sure you don't die. As one of the teams prepares to depart, Shikigami Kazumi is urged to hurry up. Elsewhere, another team member objects to being called Sensei, showing a glimpse of the group's informal dynamics. As the groups separate, a close-up reveals Kazumi's somber expression. Meanwhile, Yuta Mitsuki sighs in disappointment, lamenting why she and Sokun couldn't be on the same team. Yuta Mitsuki complains openly about not being in the same group as Ryuya. Tia Vermilion reminds her they are in the middle of a mission. In the other group, the bickering continues as they tell each other to hurry and not get ahead. Suddenly, Tia Vermilion's expression turns serious. She senses movement and alerts her team that their targets, the demons, have already started to move. A shadowy figure is seen leaping through the trees. Without a moment's hesitation, the battle begins. A flurry of motion erupts as one of the students engages a monstrous, insect-like demon in a swift and chaotic attack. The rest of the team arrives on the scene. Yutu Mitsuki, upside down, confirms their arrival. Tia Vermilion and the others look on with grim determination as they face the demonic threat. A close-up shows the intense, focused expression of Takatsuki Kuji as he prepares to unleash an attack, his bladed weapon gleaming and ready for combat. The full scale of the threat is revealed. The team stands before a massive, praying mantis-like demon, its imposing figure towering over them in the dark forest. With powers activating and auras flaring, Tia Vermilion, Yutu Mitsuki, and Takatsuki Kuji get into their battle stances. The mission officially begins. The scene abruptly shifts to a flashback. A close-up on a pair of tormented eyes asks why. Below, a much younger Shikigami Kazumi, clutching a stuffed animal, tearfully questions why she can't live like a normal kid. The flashback continues, revealing Kazumi's childhood. She spent her days practicing magic alone, constantly reminded by her family that as the eldest daughter of the esteemed Shikigami clan of magicians, she had a heavy responsibility to bear. Young Kazumi felt suffocated by her life. When other children wanted to invite her to play, they were told she'd refuse. Her governess sternly warns her not to mingle with normal children, threatening to take away her friendships if they discovered her magic. Heartbroken and overwhelmed, young Kazumi runs away, crying out that she hates everyone as her attendant calls after her in vain. Walking alone through a park, Kazumi continues to sob, hating her entire family. All she wanted was to be a normal kid and play with friends. She sits by a water fountain, consumed by her sadness. Nearby, a young boy with spiky hair is seriously focused on washing his hands. Kazumi, seeing him, wonders what he's doing. Hesitantly, she approaches and pokes him in the back. Startled, the boy jumps in surprise. Kazumi, flustered, bows and apologizes for bothering him, then introduces herself as Shikigami Kazumi. The boy, who is a young Susuke, reveals what he was doing, making perfectly round and shiny mudballs. Kazumi is utterly amazed, her eyes sparkling. She has never seen anything so pretty and can't believe it's just a mudball. Kazumi tries to make a mudball herself, but it crumbles in her hands. Susuke explains that they don't look right away and take time. Seeing her disappointment, her eyes begin to well up with tears again. Seeing her about to cry, Susuke gently touches her face and asks if she wants to make them together, a simple act of kindness that leaves her stunned and blushing. He tells her that they don't have to do it today, promising that he will be at the playground again tomorrow at the same time. The offer hangs in the air, a beacon of hope for the lonely girl. Overjoyed, Kazumi loudly shouts her thanks, promising she will absolutely come back tomorrow. Her sudden outburst of tears and shouting embarrasses Susuke, drawing stares from aunties in the neighborhood as he tries to calm her down. The flashback lingers on Kazumi's intensely emotional, tear-streaked face. Through her sobs, she confesses that more than anything, she hates mean lies, revealing the deep wound left by a life of broken promises and isolation. The flashback continues. A flustered young Susuke apologizes, promising the crying Kazumi that he won't lie anymore. He then realizes he never even introduced himself and asks for her name, only to correct himself, having forgotten his own manners. The memory of young Susuke finally introducing himself echoes in the present as the scene transitions back to the mission. The name, Satu Susuke, rings in the adult Kazumi's ears, startling her. At that moment, a shadowy demon emerges from the darkness beneath a street lamp. The boar-like demon charges forward with a terrifying whoosh. Caught off guard while lost in her thoughts, Kazumi struggles to react in time, realizing she needs to deploy a barrier immediately to defend herself. Shishido Ryo leaps in front of Kazumi, intercepting the demon's attack with a crackle of lightning magic. As the creature is repelled, he turns to Kazumi, asking if she is all right. Sukimura Kane, wielding a large ice spear, calmly compliments Shishido on his swift use of thunder magic. Full of arrogance, Shishido dismisses the demons as mere practice targets, not even worthy of him drawing his divine sword. Shishido tells Kazumi he'll protect her, noting that it's rare for her to be so distracted on a mission. Lost in her memories of Susuke, she apologizes in her thoughts. Sukimura reminds them to stay on guard, as a high-ranking demon could appear at any time. Kazumi closes her eyes, her mind flooded with memories of Susuke's different expressions from their childhood. She makes a firm resolution, declaring to herself that she doesn't want to remain ignorant of what happened to him. With newfound determination, Kazumi decides she will find Susuke and have a proper talk with him to clear up the past. The scene then cuts back to Susuke's team, who are in the middle of their own intense battle against the giant mantis demon. The battle rages on. Takatsuki Kuji watches as the demon evades an attack, shouting a warning to Tia Vermilion that the creature is now heading her way. In response, Tia calmly unleashes her power. She casts Soul Bind, creating a shimmering wall of magical seals that rises from the ground to intercept and trap the charging mantis demon. With the demon momentarily restrained, Yuta Mitsuki sees her chance. Announcing that she'll end it, she leaps into the air and unleashes her own powerful attack, a focused blast of wind magic. Mitsuki's attack hits its mark, slicing cleanly through the demon. As she lands, she coolly remarks that it made for a decent opponent, with the rest of her team standing behind her. After the battle concludes, Mitsuki turns to see Susuke, still in his ridiculous mask, standing idly. She asks him what he was doing, pointing out that they've already finished the fight. Takatsuki Kuji complains that the fight ended before he could do anything and asks Mitsuki why she didn't let his sensei participate. Mitsuki fumes, absolutely refusing to cooperate with the person she calls this cabbage. The argument escalates. Mitsuki furiously retorts that she had to be so cautious precisely because Kuji brought along such a suspicious person. She questions Susuke's perfectly timed appearance, making him flinch. Mitsuki continues her tirade, arguing that they don't need collaborators in the first place. She boasts that the three of them easily defeated a mid-level demon that would normally require around 10 regular magicians. Tia interrupts the argument, reminding them that a high-ranking demon that even Takatsuki couldn't handle had appeared before. She states that they need Susuke as a collaborator for such situations, but then tells him his role is just to provide support, much to his dismay. Put on the spot, Susuke explains that his specialty is simply strengthening his body with mana, and he isn't good at magic that needs to be deployed externally. His teammates are left in a state of complete shock at his admission. Mitsuki explodes, questioning how he can say that without any shame since deploying mana is a basic skill. Susuke can only grunt in frustration, admitting to himself that he was told the same thing back in the other world. Mitsuki turns on Takatsuki, mockingly asking if this is the excellent magician he found. With a smug expression, she declares that this is exactly why you shouldn't hire stray magicians. Furious at the insult to his sensei, Takatsuki's own power begins to flare up. He angrily tells Mitsuki not to dare insult him further and challenges her to a fight to see whose power is superior, his flames or her wind. Mitsuki readily accepts the challenge. As the two square off, Susuke and Tia rush to intervene, shouting for them to stop fighting, especially over someone nicknamed Cabbage. Tia takes decisive action, trapping an enraged Mitsuki inside a crystalline barrier. She points out that Mitsuki is injured and that now is not the time to be squabbling. Subdued, Mitsuki offers a quiet thank you. Putting a stop to the pointless squabble, Tia refocuses the group on their mission. She closes her eyes to use her senses, reporting the presence of approximately 210 demons to the northwest. As her containment barrier shatters, she points them in the new direction, forcing a temporary truce. The team spots a single, small owl-like demon perched on a branch, likely a scout for the larger group. Taking charge, Yuta Mitsuki gives the order to head there. Takatsuki lets out a frustrated "uff," but follows along, the tension between the students still hanging heavy in the air as they move toward the next encounter. As the team moves on, Susuke reflects on the squabble, thinking to himself that despite their immense power, the students are as disorganized as grade schoolers. He wonders what his role is supposed to be, sarcastically asking himself if he should just throw rocks from a distance. Meanwhile, Yuta Mitsuki decides to just let her anger go for now. However, Mitsuki can't hold her tongue. She turns to Susuke, her eyes filled with fury. With a deadly serious expression, she gives him a final, chilling warning. If you get in my way, I'll kill you. Susuke is left speechless by the threat. As they arrive at their destination, they realize the owl was just a scout. A massive, shadowy, bear-like demon with a horrifying grin emerges from the darkness. Its presence so immense it causes crows to scatter. Behind it, a horde of smaller demons gathers, setting the stage for a truly dangerous battle. The scene opens on a map detailing an ongoing operation. Magic School students are in the process of eliminating demons across two fronts. In the residential area, we see Miss Tsukumura, Prince Shishido, and a healing priestess. Meanwhile, in the mountainside area, another team is deployed consisting of Takatsuki, Yuta Mitsuki, Tia Vermilion, and the masked sadist Susuke, currently known as Kabajuru. The mountainside team ventures through the woods. Tia turns to the others, confirming their objective. The demon is just ahead, right? As Takatsuki affirms, Yuta Mitsuki suddenly dashes past them, eager to get into the action. Yuta Mitsuki charges forward recklessly, shouting that she'll go on ahead. Takatsuki calls out to her in alarm, "Wait, you two. Acting alone is dangerous." While the hot-blooded duo rushes ahead, Tia seems troubled. The masked sadist Susuke notices her expression and asks if something is the matter. Deciding not to be left behind, he follows after the other two. Tia stops Sado Susuke, wanting to apologize to him. He seems confused by the sudden gesture. She then bows deeply, expressing her regret for Yuta Mitsuki's rude behavior, while Sado awkwardly accepts the apology. Sado asks why she's apologizing. Tia explains the gravity of their situation, stating that missions of this difficulty, with such powerful demons, aren't usually assigned to students. Sado recalls that Takatsuki had mentioned the same thing. Tia elaborates on their dire circumstances. Miss Tsukumura had requested reinforcement from Alteria's Kanto branch, but was denied, told that their current forces were sufficient. This has left the students and residents in great danger with no one to protect them. It was in this worst-case scenario that Satu, a supposed helper, suddenly appeared. Getting to the point, Tia looks directly at Satu and states her suspicion plainly. She believes he is incredibly suspicious and might even be a traitor from Alteria. He is visibly taken aback by the accusation. Tia explains the reasoning behind their suspicion. Yuta Mitsuki and Takatsuki also felt his timing was too perfect. Sado understands. He arrived at the exact moment they were most vulnerable. Tia adds that in the magical world, there are those who try to raise their own value by orchestrating the failure of others. Sado reflects on the situation, understanding why Yuta Mitsuki was so harsh. She was trying to protect her comrades from him, a complete unknown. He even admits to himself that if he were in their shoes, he'd have been just as hostile. The panel flashes to Yuta questioning Takatsuki's judgment for trusting him. Tia continues to explain Yuta Mitsuki's actions. She insists that despite acting tough, Mitsuki is actually very scared. This fear is what causes her to be even more harsh and suspicious than usual. Tia clasps her hands together earnestly, pleading with Sado not to blame Yuta Mitsuki. She explains that no matter what terrible things Mitsuki says, it's not a reflection of her true feelings. Touched by her sincerity, Sado thinks to himself what a good person Tia is. He reassures her, saying, "Gotcha," and promises to be mindful of her words regarding Yuta Mitsuki. A flustered Tia admits she wasn't that angry to begin with. Sada then questions Tia's motives. If she's truly suspicious of him, why would she share all this information? Tia lets out a sigh, thanking him, before admitting that while she is still suspicious, she has another feeling as well. Tia confesses her opinion of him. She doesn't think he's a bad person, though she can't quite articulate why. Her primary reason is that she's never seen Takatsuki adore another person as much as he seems to adore Sadu. A gentle smile graces Tia's face as she makes a final confession. Besides, she says, her eyes sparkling, I also like Kabajiru quite a lot. Satu is left momentarily speechless, his mind reeling. He's shocked that she could make such a sincere and kind face. As he processes his surprise, Tia suggests they get going, and he readily agrees. Suddenly, without warning, a shadowy attack bursts from the trees. Takatsuki, who had rejoined the group, is struck and sent flying backward into a tree trunk with brutal force, shocking Satu and Tia. The aftermath is grim. Takatsuki lies impaled and bleeding profusely. From a distance, Yuta Mitsuki's shocked face is seen. Sada rushes to Takatsuki's side, asking why he came back, as Tia cries out his name in horror. Tia holds the gravely wounded Takatsuki, frantically explaining to the shocked Satu that they were ambushed by a large demon before they even knew what was happening. Takatsuki, barely conscious, tells Tia not to speak so loudly because of his wound. Tia gasps in terror at the severity of his injuries. With labored breaths, he asks about Yuta Mitsuki's whereabouts. Tia's eyes are wide with sheer terror and despair as she delivers the devastating news. Yuta Mitsuki has been abducted by the demon. A chaotic scene unfolds. Satu apologizes for his incompetence, but Takatsuki dismisses it. As Tia offers to help with the wound, Sada tells her to go after Mitsuki while he looks after Takatsuki. However, Takatsuki glares at Sadu and mutters die, while Sada comments on how messed up he's gotten. In a move that defies all reason, Sata violently kicks the gravely injured Takatsuki. As Tia watches in horror, he remarks with cold detachment, "That was a bit off. I was planning on finishing you off in one hit." Tia screams, unable to comprehend his actions. Sata forcefully holds her back, ordering her to stay away. With his eyes fixed not on Takatsuki, but on the wound itself, he utters a chilling explanation for his brutality. It's still alive. Following Sata's kick, Takatsuki's body begins to convulse violently. The black substance that impaled him was not a weapon, but a part of a creature that begins to painfully emerge from his body, cracking and contorting his form as it pulls itself free. Tia stares in absolute horror, the reflection of the grotesque creature visible in her wide eye. Satu explains the phenomenon to her. That's what you call mimicry. He notes that it's a pretty detailed one, admitting he wouldn't have been able to tell if he hadn't gotten a closer look. The creature, a perfect mimic of Takatsuki, was so convincing it fooled even his closest peers. Satu questions the demon, wondering how it could execute such a flawless plan in just a day or two, and even asks if it orchestrated Yuta Mitsuki's reckless charge. The creature, fully revealed as a parasitic demon attached to Takatsuki, finally speaks. It seems amused that Sada saw through its disguise. Sada calmly addresses the sentient being, demanding it to talk. As the demon fully emerges, its voice is revealed to be female. Sada sweats, realizing he is facing a woman, albeit a monstrous one. The female demon looks down at the now empty shell of Takatsuki, lamenting that he should have been allowed to die peacefully, rather than suffering through her possession of his body. Tia shouts in disbelief as she witnesses the demon conjuring an ability, magic. Even Satu, still in his masked disguise, is visibly startled by this development. Tia recalls what Mist Tsukumura had taught them, that it is an extremely rare occurrence for a demon to be able to use spells. As she processes this, Satu is forced to evade a massive, high-speed projectile attack from the demon. From Sada's perspective, the demon's powerful attack seems to move in slow motion. He effortlessly dodges out of the way, unimpressed by its speed. However, as Sada lands, he realizes his feet are trapped. The ground beneath him cracks and turns into a muddy trap, pulling him down. He wonders when the demon had cast a secondary spell. The earth-based spell is incredibly powerful, and Sada feels its immense weight as it attempts to crush him and pull him under. With a determined look, he prepares to counter. Unleashing his own power, Sada stomps down hard. The ground beneath him shatters completely, breaking the demon's spell and freeing him from its grasp. The shockwave from Satu breaking the spell is immense, causing a massive explosion in the forest that tears through the landscape. Kneeling on the ground some distance away, Tia stares in shock at the path of destruction left by Satu's escape, muttering his disguised name in disbelief. His eyes glowing with intent, Satu decides to get serious. He closes the distance in an instant and delivers a devastating blow to the mimic demon, causing Tia to flinch from the sheer force of the impact. The mimic demon is completely obliterated. As the dust settles, the original, larger demon that abducted Yutu Mitsuki reappears, looking at the scene. Believing Satu is gone, it remarks, "He's dead. Pitiful man." Tia looks on, completely bewildered. Just as the demon gloats, it is struck by a high-speed, stone pillar bullet. Tia is shocked, realizing it's a form of earth magic, and that it was cast in an instant, implying Satu is still alive and fighting. The demon reveals its grotesque, true face, its eyes glowing menacingly. It turns its attention to Tia, threateningly asking if she wants to be sent to the same place as the masked man. With Satu and Takatsuki seemingly gone, Tia steals her resolve. She gets into a fighting stance, declaring to herself that she is the only one left who can stop this demon. The demon lets out a guttural roar and charges directly at Tia, who stares it down with determination, ready to face the onslaught. Tia meets the demon's charge head-on, creating a powerful magic barrier to block its attack. The two forces collide with a deafening crash. The demon's power is immense. Tia struggles to hold her barrier, gritting her teeth as cracks begin to form under the sheer force of the assault. The demon scoffs at her flimsy barrier, but Tia has another plan. She begins to cast a powerful spell, chanting Soul Bind, Heavenly Ring, as a glowing ring of light forms around her. The heavenly ring shoots forward, successfully ensnaring the charging demon. The spell lifts the creature into the air and begins to constrict with immense force, eliciting a pained, furious cry from the trapped beast. As the ring tightens around the demon's throat, Tia pours all her remaining energy into the spell, desperately praying for it to hold. This is the strongest sealing technique of the celestial magicians, a sacred art powerful enough to strangle a whale. For a moment, it seems like her prayer might be answered, but the demon's power is too great. Cracks appear on the heavenly ring, and to Tia's horror, the demon's hand smashes through her spell, shattering her last hope. With a final, explosive burst of power, the demon shatters the heavenly ring completely, breaking free from the sacred sealing technique. The force of the demon's escape throws Tia backward. It looms over her, mockingly admitting she's skilled for a student, but her technique was far too weak to ever bind it. The demon dismisses her, stating its business is with other, more powerful humans. It considers her inferior, a fact that Tia already knows as she trembles in despair. In her mind, she sees the silhouettes of her far more powerful companions, masters of the Typhoon Sword, Ghostly Fire, the Divine Beast, and the Divine Sword. Tia laments her own weakness. Compared to her comrades, she isn't outstanding in attack, healing, or strengthening magic. The one technique she was confident in, Soul Bind, has failed utterly. But even in her despair, she knows she has to try. She finds the strength to stand and confront the demon, demanding to know what it did to her friends, Takatsuki and Yuta Mitsuki. Her eyes burn with furious determination. I have to save my friends, she screams, demanding an answer from the monster before her. The demon responds with chilling indifference. Who knows? It muses before adding a cruel taunt. I don't really know how to hold back, so they might already be dead. Fueled by rage, Tia uses body, strengthening magic, and leaps into the air, delivering a powerful kick to the demon's face. The blow lands, but the recoil sends her flying backward as the demon stands unfazed. Tia is thrown to the ground, coughing and defeated. The demon looks down on her, stating coldly, "It's no use. You can't do a thing against me." She slams her fist on the ground in frustration. As the top student of the year, she questions how she can be so utterly useless while her friends are in grave danger. Lying defeated on the forest floor, with the demon's imposing silhouette looming over her, she asks herself a final, heartbreaking question. Can I really not save anyone with my power? As Tia whispers apologies to her lost friends, the demon closes in. Don't take it personally, it says, reaching for her. But to fulfill my dearest wish, I will have to make use of you as well. Just as the demon's claws are about to reach Tia, a fist radiating immense power appears, ready to strike. It's Sadasu Suk, back from the brink. He unleashes a powerful, arcing punch aimed directly at the demon's head. Sada's punch connects with cataclysmic force. The demon, caught completely by surprise by his return and overwhelming power, can only register a moment of shock as its face caves in. The demon lets out a piercing shriek as the force of the blow sends it hurtling through the air, its body rolling uncontrollably from the impact. A monkey-like demon is sent skidding across the ground. A mysterious figure steps into the scene as Tia, a girl with blonde hair, mockingly calls the defeated demon a monkey. The one who defeated the demon is Sadhu Sisuk, his face partially covered by a broken mask. He stands over the defeated demon, remarking that it's been a while since he last snapped. A dark, powerful aura envelopes Sadhu Sisuk as he transforms. Tia, mistaking the defeated demon for her ally, calls out, "Terusin," in shock. The demon itself is terrified of Sadhu's immense power, unable to believe it was hit by a stone bullet. The masked demon, refusing to be underestimated, lunges at Sadhu. But Sadhu effortlessly flips him upside down with a flick of his wrist, showing the vast difference in their power. Sadhu continues his assault, pummeling the masked demon with a series of devastating blows, sending him crashing to the ground. The brutal beatdown is reflected in Tia's horrified eyes. She watches as Sadhu throws the masked demon around like a rag doll. Sadhu, annoyed, questions the dazed demon about the whereabouts of Takatsuki Kuji and Yuta Mitsuki. Tia is stunned, thinking to herself how strong this new person is. With his foot on the demon's head, Sadhu glares down at him. The demon, terrified, reveals that Takatsuki and Mitsuki are fighting his comrades. Sadhu considers this new information, realizing that those who were splashed with the praying mantis demon's blood are being drawn to a certain point. The demon laughs maniacally, questioning if Sadhu plans on saving them, claiming they are weaker than him. Meanwhile, Sadhu turns to Tia, who is struggling to stand, and asks if she's all right. Tia reassures him she's fine. Sadhu, looking determined, says they now have to go beat up the demon's friends and find the important point it mentioned. Sadhu admits he can only vaguely sense where the others are, frustrated at being rusty. He turns to Tia and asks her to tell him the shortest route to find the two missing students. With a determined look, Sadhu declares that he will immediately go and save Takatsuki and Mitsuki. Tia looks up at him, her eyes filled with awe and gratitude. Tia bows deeply, thanking him. She then asks for his name, thinking to herself that this must be the person she was worried about, Teru-san. Sadhu is flustered by her persistence, grabbing his shirt and complaining that it's a great shame not to be able to call his savior by his real name. He tells her he'll reveal his name when everything is over. As Sadhu pulls away, a paper talisman, a shiki, falls from the defeated demon's remains. He picks it up, wondering what it is. Tia explains that the shiki is a magic item that can be attached to something to control it remotely. Sato asks what that implies. Tia looks grave as she explains the meaning. Someone was controlling that demon from a hidden location. The scene shifts to where the students, Mitsuki and Takatsuki, are struggling against two large, brutish demons. Mitsuki is out of breath but stands her ground. Mitsuki is thrown into the air by one of the demons, while Takatsuki takes a direct hit, crying out in pain. Despite being hit, Takatsuki lands and reassures a worried Mitsuki that he is fine. A nearby demon grins, seemingly enjoying the fight. Suddenly, a new, even more menacing demon emerges from the shadows, its dark aura surging. Mitsuki and Takatsuki stare in disbelief, wondering what this new threat is. Mitsuki panics, not expecting such a powerful demon to appear. She worries if Tia is safe. Wiping sweat from his brow, Takatsuki urgently tells his sensei that they must quickly get back to their two separated comrades. Facing the imposing new demon, Takatsuki makes a snap decision. He tells Mitsuki to fall back while he acts as a diversion. A shocked Mitsuki protests, but Takatsuki readies himself for the fight, determined to hold the line alone. As Takatsuki makes his stand, Mitsuki leaps into action, dodging one demon while kicking another away, refusing to leave her comrade behind. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupts in the distance. Takatsuki looks on in shock, shouting for the unseen person to wait. Before Takatsuki can react, Sato Susuke rushes past him at incredible speed, heading directly for the fray. In a flash, Sato appears, his face partially obscured by a mask. He grabs Mitsuki, pulling her out of a demon's path just in the nick of time. While still holding onto Mitsuki, Sato throws a single, powerful punch, creating a massive explosion that completely engulfs the demons. As the smoke clears, the demon's body disintegrates. Sato stands calmly, holding Mitsuki, while Takatsuki stares in utter disbelief. Mitsuki, completely bewildered, looks at her savior and can only stammer, "Cabbage." Sato, still wearing his mask, stands with an aura of power, as Takatsuki looks on with wide-eyed astonishment. Takatsuki, overwhelmed with admiration, exclaims that Sato is amazing and the strongest, having killed the demon in one strike. Sato casually turns to Mitsuki as their teacher, Tsukimura Kane, arrives on the scene. The group is finally reunited and safe. Tia and Mitsuki comfort each other, relieved that the battle is over thanks to Teru-san. Tsukimura Kane formally addresses the students, including two other male students, telling them their mission is over. Tsukimura Kane turns to Sato, calling him Cabbage Teru and acknowledging his capability. Sato, looking flustered and scratching his head, thanks her awkwardly as Tia stares at him, intrigued. Suddenly, Sato announces he's going back because he has to wake up early for his part-time job and dashes off. Mitsuki is left completely stunned, wondering what kind of person he is to be so casual after such a display of power. As Sato runs off, he mutters to himself about almost blowing his cover. In the background, Tsukimura Kane watches him leave with a thoughtful and serious expression. The scene shifts to a formal debriefing room. Tia stands before the group and concludes her report on the mission, stating that the total number of demons they defeated was 7. Tsukimura Kane proudly commends her students, but Tia looks down, insisting that it was all thanks to Teru-san, Sato. Without him, she implies, they would have been in grave danger. Mitsuki speaks up, revealing a crucial detail. The monkey demon they fought had appeared before her, and Takatsuki, disguised as Tia. Takatsuki confirms this, adding that Sato's ability is real as he saw through the mimicry instantly. Mitsuki gets defensive, retorting that Tia is much cuter and smells nice, unlike the demon. Meanwhile, one of the other students, a man with long blonde hair, remarks on what an odd fellow Cabbage is, seemingly unable to use any magic other than body strengthening. Tsukimura Kane changes the subject, bringing their attention to the next hunt. She states that they have defeated most of the demons in town, except for one last, big one living on the mountaintop. Tia agrees, confirming she also sensed a demon far bigger than anything she'd seen before. Kane adds that the demon doesn't seem to be moving from its spot, but the damage would be severe if it were to descend into the town. Kane declares that their last mission in this town will be to defeat the large demon tomorrow night. She pointedly tells Tia, calling her by her full name, Shikigami, to pull herself together, as she wouldn't want her hometown destroyed. Mitsuki seems excited by the prospect of fighting a large demon. Kane places a comforting hand on Tia's head, who responds with a quiet yes. Tia quietly wonders if they can win, noting the new demon will be much stronger than the monkey demon. Kane then drops a bombshell. They will undertake this mission without the masked man, Satu. The students are shocked by this revelation. Takatsuki stands up and protests, insisting that Sata's cooperation is essential for the mission to be a certain success. Kane gives a cryptic explanation, stating that there's a reason, but it's better that they don't know about it, as Sata's background could potentially affect their careers. Despite Takatsuki's passionate protest, Mitsuki sternly cuts him off. She reminds him that this is supposed to be a practical lesson and they should follow their teacher's orders, dismissively referring to their mysterious savior as that cabbage, leaving Takatsuki frustrated. After the tense meeting, the weight of the situation settles in. Tia explains to a concerned Takatsuki that she can't rely on family support as her parents are overseas and her grandfather has left the country, making the threat to her hometown feel even more immediate and isolating. Shishido, a charismatic male student, winks and reassures the group, saying not to be pessimistic. He confidently states that if they all work together, they'll be able to handle the new threat. Tsukimura Kane continues to bolster their confidence, reminding them of their strengths. She points out that Takatsuki and Mitsuki held their own against two demons, and another student, Vermilion, was able to stop the monkey demon with her barrier and soulbind spell, even if just for a few seconds. Kane adds that with Shishido and his divine sword, and Tia, Shikigami, with her divine beast, they should be able to defeat the large demon. She grins, confirming she will also be joining them, so there's no need to worry. With a commanding presence, Tsukimura Kane looks over her students. She tells them that they are her proud students, and she believes they will definitely deliver amazing results. The students, including Tia, Takatsuki, and Mitsuki, all look forward with renewed determination. Kane formally dismisses them for the day, reminding them not to be late as the operation starts at midnight tomorrow. As the students leave, Mitsuki scolds the blushing Vermilion for saying he'll protect them. Just as Tia is about to leave, Tsukimura Kane asks her to stay back for a moment, saying she has something to ask about the monkey demon, which seemed to be a special individual. Kane asks if there was anything strange about the demon besides its mimicry ability, wondering if it could be connected to the larger demon on the mountain. Tia, however, reports that there was nothing else of note. Their eyes meet, a silent understanding or suspicion passing between them. Tia quietly excuses herself and leaves the room. Kane watches her go, then says she's sorry for holding her up. Alone now, Kane lights a cigarette. She muses to herself that while Tia doesn't talk much, she wears her emotions on her sleeve, causing Kane to worry about her future. The scene changes to Sada Susuk working his part-time job at the cum market. He struggles to lift a heavy box, grimacing in pain from the side effects of his body magic. He stumbles and bumps into his female co-worker, Sasamine-san, causing her to fall and drop her things. Sasamine-san, concerned, quickly asks if Sadu is all right and not hurt anywhere. As he apologizes, he reaches out and takes her hand to help her up. Sasamine-san blushes, surprised by how big Sada's hands are. She suggests he talk to the store owner and leave early if he isn't feeling well. Satu, meanwhile, panics internally, wondering if he was being creepy. With a bright, reassuring smile, Sasamine-san tells Satu that she knows he's doing his best, but he shouldn't overdo it. She physically pushes him towards the owner, insisting he go home. Satu looks on, slightly dazed by her kindness. Walking home, Satu feels pathetic, scolding himself for leaving work early just because of muscle pains, especially for a former hero. He announces, "I'm back," as he arrives at his house, still worrying about the next demon attack and his need for more training. His grandfather greets him, surprised to see him home so soon. Satu explains it's just some muscle pains. As his grandfather welcomes him back, an old woman sitting on the couch mentions that a guest came for him. The old woman playfully wonders what kind of guest it could be, listing off comical descriptions of handsome men or cool female teachers, which happen to mirror the students Satu just met. Satu, unamused, tells her it's neither of those. With a knowing look, the old woman reveals the guest's identity, with a close-up on her determined eyes. It's Kazumi-chan. She adds that Shikigami Kazumi is waiting for him in his room. The final panel shows Kazumi sitting patiently, her hair blowing in the wind from the open window. Satu is utterly speechless, his face a mask of pure shock and confusion as he can only manage a stunned, "Huh."